Welcome to Should a Dad Play, the show where dads like us play video games and we end up reviewing them, and if they're worthy of a recommendation, we go ahead and put that out there as well. My name is Paul Irizarry with Dad's XP, and today we're reviewing Assassin's Creed Mirage. Jumping into Assassin's Creed Mirage, first things first, this game takes you straight back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. This is a very significant deterrent, I guess, from the recent entries in Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Those last three entries were a little bit more of an RPG-style Assassin's Creed game, and they were also very, very large in scale in terms of their open world. That's not the case with Assassin's Creed Mirage. Assassin's Creed Mirage kind of, brings things back together into a neat, concise package. So you're more so getting a little bit of a Assassin's Creed Revelations or Assassin's Creed 2 type of vibe game. And you can also maybe compare it with Assassin's Creed 1, the original, just because of, the territory and all that. But going into Assassin's Creed and going into these reviews as a dad, we kind of break things down by specific parts, right? So what we'll do is we'll review the story, the graphics, the sound, gameplay and controls, and replayability of a game if you are not familiar with how we go ahead and do that. So going straight into this, let's talk about the story real quick. I think personally the story is the weakest part of this game. It's modest. It has a modest length. You're not going to be playing it for over 20 hours to reach completion. So it is a very good game in terms of you're not going to get too lost, as a dad if you have other things to do, or if you just don't have time in general. You're not going to get super lost in the story. Or if you drop the game and pick it back up, you're not going to be lost in general. You should be able to relatively pick it back up. It's easy to follow. It's refreshing in the sense that you're returning pre-Origins Assassin's Creed, where you're just going out and assassinating your targets and whatnot. So it is very, very good in that sense. However, the middle of the story seems to drag out a little bit. It seems like maybe like 4.5 hours into the story itself, I feel like they kind of dragged it out to kind of get some sort of value out of the game. But, the main antagonist, one of my notes is the main antagonist is mid, as kids say, I guess teenagers say. But, it's not that memorable as opposed to other antagonists in the Assassin's Creed, story. And another positive here is the linear storyline. It's easy to follow, like I said. I revert back to that because it's been so... It's such a sharp comparison here between the two games, or the two styles of games, right? Where we have Assassin's Creed Origins, Valhalla, Odyssey, and then you have your Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelation. They're very different types of game, even Black Flag, for example. And that is probably a very good comparison. Black Flag minus, I guess, obviously the ships and whatnot. But again, this story is really good in that sense. That it's easy to follow, but everything else, it's just I feel like you could have done more. This almost feels like it was meant to be maybe like the best comparison I can make it story-wise would be like an expansion story, if that makes sense. If this were like a $30 Assassin's Creed game with all the bells and whistles, I'd be very impressed with the story. However, it's not even $60, it's not $70, which is another plus. You can pick this game up at $49.99 right now at launch, but what you're getting is not quite enough, in my opinion, or at least for me personally. Again, your mileage may vary, but the story is not the strongest suit. But moving into the graphics are a little bit better in terms of if I was going to compare it to the story, right? There are some issues I have with the graphics. There's inconsistent facial graphics on some of the characters and models. The environment and the overall ambience of where we're located in this game is magnificent. The lighting is great as well, so I'll definitely give it a huge plus. Environmental lighting, your environments as is are great. Character models could use a little bit of work just because we've seen how far we've come. But again, it's not anything that's going to break your gameplay. It's not a negative per se. It's just it's good. It could be better. And then moving into sound, again, I think there's pretty much on par. You're pretty much getting what you're expecting out of an Assassin's Creed game. You have great environmental sounds. You can hear crowds, the prayers, audio cues in the background. It all sounds great. It all sounds phenomenal. And these audio cues are really easy to identify when you're playing very stealthy. So you can hear people in the background. You can hear kind of like not the UI, but the UI elements with their sound track, or I guess their sound bit play off, so you kind of know what you're doing without even really having to see, if that makes sense. So the sound is really good. Again, if you're using your headphones to listen to the game, that's a plus as well. Just being able to identify where everything is just by sound is a nice touch. And then moving into the gameplay and controls, again, we're going back to a return to origin and controls, but it's kind of like a hybrid, right? We're not completely back to the old Assassin's Creed. So a lot of the modernization with the most recent 3 entries, it can still be found within this game. You know, that easy, that follow the path, easy travel with your mount is still there, which is great. It's phenomenal, especially when you're trying to traverse long distances and you don't necessarily have the fast travel unlocked yet for those synchronizations. You just hop on, I guess, your camel in this game, and you just set your auto walk, and you're good to go. I'm glad that's back. That wasn't really there in the original Assassin's Creed games, so that's good to have. Quality of life features that have been present in previous Assassin's Creed games recently, you could probably still find them here. The controls are not the same as your traditional Assassin's Creed, where usually you'd hold the trigger down to like run, and then press X to like vault over and stuff like that. Not necessarily the case here. You just sprint as you normally would like in any other first-person shooter or whatever, which is usually your analog. You press that in. Again, controllers can be customized and whatnot, but you know, the control scheme, the point is the control schemes are a little bit different, but that sense of modernization is in there with the return to origin, which is great. I think that hybrid approach is really welcome, in my opinion. Now, it's with that being said, again, it's really easy to pick up and play. A lot of the features that you would use within the game, like tools, weapons, combat, you should be really familiar with if you've picked up an Assassin's Creed game before. And even if you haven't played Assassin's Creed in years, it'll be easy to just pick up and play. You may need to obviously pay attention to the tutorial a little bit because, again, those controls have shifted. But overall, really easy to pick up and play. If you drop this game and came back a few days later, I don't see there being a barrier to re-entry, if that makes sense. You know, when you stop playing a game and then you have to come back. Yeah, I don't see that barrier of re-entry being there. I probably see it more so in the story if you really wanted to follow suit, not with just picking up the game and playing control-wise. Now, with that being said, there is a skill tree to kind of build out your character here. It's a simple skill tree. It's not super complex, which is great. It's a great plus. Again, this game is almost like, it's almost like an, you know, when you're trying to concentrate everything down, that's almost what it feels like, which is great. So instead of having an exaggerated array of skills that you can mix and match, you're kind of dumbed down to 3 different trees, and you kind of break it down from there, and you can, modify your character the way you want them. Also, you can just reallocate those points at any time. So if one certain build does not fit your playstyle, you could obviously go ahead and mix and match the way you need and see fit. So that's great. Again, not having that overabundance of different skills is magnificent in my opinion. It makes it really easy for you to just add a special skill, a different perk here and there to make your character a little bit more fleshed out in certain areas. But deep down, the core of the gameplay is going to be that parkour, that stealth, or that, combat approach that you're going to go ahead and do. Now, also, replayability is a different section we kind of go ahead and talk about here when we're reviewing these games. And replayability, your mileage may vary, of course. This is where it's like the hardest to kind of gauge. If you're a completionist and you want to play through everything and unlock everything, get all the trophies and all the achievements, this is a great game to do so. It's not that difficult. It doesn't seem that difficult. Throughout my playthrough, I, for the majority, almost completed all the achievements. I got to go ahead and do some cleanups. But again, very easy to do that if that's your type of play style. The easy to pick up and play is great for replayability, which we've mentioned before. That nostalgic factor, the controls being easy, the story being super simple to follow through. That pick up and play makes it good to like revisit if you ever wanted to revisit the game. So I don't see a barrier there, like I've mentioned before. And because of that, I do think your mileage is going to vary. Are you a big fan of Assassin's Creed? If you're a big fan of Assassin's Creed, I think this is a good game. And your replayability, you may go back to kind of get like that story bit and whatnot here and there. But if you're not, and you're not a super hardcore fan, I think you may just pick up the game, play it once, play it through, and you'll be done with it and be on your way. Which again isn't necessarily a bad thing for the game. I do just think it's you're not going to get your bang for your buck if you get it at full price. With that being said, Assassin's Creed is a great game. It is a departure from the RPG formula that the past 3 main entries have followed, but Mirage does return to its roots with a modern day gameplay approach, and I think this is a great game for the fans of the series and those looking for a shorter than usual, by recent standards, story, and a perfect recommendation for people that have not played Assassin's Creed or dads like us in general. So again, I think we're going to have to go ahead and rate this game a 7.5 out of 10. It's not a, you got to go ahead and go pick up the game, and it's definitely not up there as the must-play game of the year. But it's definitely a good game. You can't go wrong with it, right? You know exactly what you're going to jump into when you buy this game. Again, it's not a $60 game. It's $49.99, $50, which is great. I would recommend, as a dad, you could probably pick this up for $30. If you pick it up for $29.99, you bought yourself a magnificent game. So again, 7.5 out of 10. And yeah, should a dad play? I think they should. Again, with Dad's XP, my name is Paul Irizarry. This has been the review for Assassin's Creed Mirage. If you liked the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll have more videos coming your way by other dads like us too. So until next time, take it easy. Bye-bye.